Good day and welcome to our next video on the topic quantitative and qualitative aspect, the size and composition of market. I am Dr. Erwin Martinez, a professor in Pharmacy Department, San Pedro College, and a visiting professor, Bournemouth University, United Kingdom. So for today, our learning objective would be at the end of this topic, the students will be able to identify the size and composition of the market. Number two would be to compare the types of pharmaceutical products available in the market. And lastly, to classify products categories by the therapeutic segments. So with this, we would like to define first what are some terminologies. Number one would be about drugs, and this is in accordance to the Republic Act 3720. It says that drugs refer to medication or medicines or other substances, either ethical or prescription, or it is actually over-the-counter medication intended for use in the diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of diseases in man or in human, and or intended to affect the structure or any function of the human body, but which does not include devices or their components, parts, and accessories. The common and widely used classification system is what we call as anatomical therapeutic chemical classification system, or ATC system. Some of the terminologies will be discussed to you later on about innovator drugs, branded drugs, and pure generics. So for today, as we all know, we're going to discuss on the probable size and composition of market, particularly on drug products. So this is actually the global market in projected or forecasted in 2023. So as you can see here, that even North America have already a share of 45.33%. We have also Asia Pacific, which is actually a bigger chunk, which is 24.7%. We have also Europe, which is 20.24%. So this is actually a global pharmaceutical market share that is according to geography-wise market share of global pharmaceutical markets in 2023. So according to the recent business research company report, that pharmaceutical company or market is anticipated to hit around 1.17 trillion by 2025, and up to this moment with 5.8% from 93.4 billion. It will actually increase into 934.8 billion in 2017. No? So it is increasing. As you can see, that there are really a projection in 2023 that it will really go up. No? In comparison then to the industry grew at the rate of approximately 5.2% in a period to 2017, the new players are actually entering what we call as the causing of the market disruption and increasing competition. So that is why that there is no stability, as we all know that there will always be competition of the market. Now, that is usually in pharmaceutical marketing. Although that small pharmaceutical companies and startups are causing what we call as seismic shift in the market. So there's really a distortion then with the pharmaceutical market coming up with the new brands, new market segments, no, and of course market. And that is why this is what we call as the big pharma. No, there are 10 big pharmas in the world. No, these are Novartis, Eli Lilly, Pfizer, Abbvie, AstraZeneca, F. Homan, La Roche, no, Johnson and Johnson, GlaxoSmithKline, and Merck and Co. that are still the formidable forces to be reckoned within the particular sector. Of course, there are also myriads of factors that can influence the market size of pharmaceutical sector. No? That include drug affordability, government and regulatory policies, as what mentioned in the 7 trends that we have in the previous video, and the new technologies like artificial intelligence, changing customer or consumer attitude, disease prevalence, no, and plethora of supply chain factors. So there are a lot of trends that can actually distort the whole market, that can influence the whole market size of the pharmaceutical sector. So again, there are, depending upon the affordability, government and regulation, the policies, the new technologies such as artificial intelligence, changing of the customer behavior, disease prevalence, and all, of course, the supply chain factors that we have. Now, moving on to the market players, we have innovators, we have branded generics, we have also pure generic. And what is all about innovators, branded generic, and pure generic? So, as per defined, an innovator drug is the first drug that are created containing its specific active ingredient to receive approval for use. So that is what we call as innovator. That is referring to the research and development based on multinational companies such as Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, AstraZeneca. So these are some of the companies that have these innovators. And of course, later on, we're going to discuss also some of the innovator companies. No? And when the new drug is first made, the drug patent usually will be acquired by the founding company. So that is why it is coming from the founding company or the innovator or the propriety of a particular company then. Now, what is all about branded generic? So beforehand, what are the examples then of an innovator drug? Some of the example, like in GlaxoSmithKline, we have Ventolin, salbutamol for anti-asthma. We have also Augmentin, Coamoxiclav, anti-infectives. We have CNAT, we have Cefuroxime, anti-infective. We have Ceforex, Cephalexin. That is for GlaxoSmithKline. Now, for Pfizer, as we all know, it's quite very famous. We have actually Norvas, Lipitor, Ponstan. We have also Citromax. We have also Dilzem that are actually quite very famous in the market. We have also AstraZeneca, we have Plendil, Imdur, Betaloc, we have also Brecanil that are quite very famous. And we have some example of an innovator drug coming from the company. We have Boehringer Ingelheim. We have also Pharmaton, which is actually a multivitamins composing of ginseng, multivitamins. We have also Mucosolvan, Ambroxol for coughs and cold. So these are what we call as innovator companies or proprietary medicines that was mentioned a while ago. Now, moving on to branded generics, this includes all local companies that market of patent products using their own brand names. Example, UNILAB, the Pascual, no, and other companies. So the branded generic is a generic drug that has gone through the ANDA process that was mentioned a while ago about the definition about generic medication, what is all about the drug, and it is actually assigned a name, okay, other than the chemical name, and this branded generic drugs may be developed then by a generic drug company or by an original manufacturers after patent expiration. So meaning the branded generic is owned by the company, and the branded generic may be bioequivalent then to an original brand product. Some examples of branded generics are the following. We have Digitech from digoxin. We have also Nefedical from Nefedipine, Levoxil levothroid, and unitroid from levothyroxine. And we have Uvafem extradiol vaginal tablets. So these are some of the examples of branded generics. So if you compare branded generics and pure generics, then these branded generics are not quite expensive. These are inexpensive as a regular generic, but they may be less expensive than the original brand. No? So that's one of the good thing with the branded generic. So how about pure generic? As per defined, these are actually with the companies that use a mother brand for all generic. Like example, RightMed, Farex are one of the example of a pure generics. No, this kind of generic product is a medication created to be the same as an already marketed brand name drug in dosage form, no? In terms of safety, the strength, the route of administration, the quality, the performance, characteristic, and intended use are quite the same. No? So these are innovators, branded generics, and of course, pure generics. Now, what would be the market share then for top companies in the pharmaceutical companies in the Philippines then? No? So if you can see then in the UNILAB, it has 22% no, in its whole market share. While if that would be for Pricer, it's only 10%, and GSK would be 8%, and other pharmaceutical companies such as Abbott, AstraZeneca, Novartis, Johnson and Johnson, Sanofi Aventis, Pascual Lab, Engelheim, and of course others. And also, for this figure one, it actually shows that the local industry has been consistently dominated by Unilab with a commanding 22% of market share. No? So it's quite high. And we are very proud that this is actually a Filipino pharmaceutical company. And Unilab has ranked number one in terms of its market share since 1998. And the last year, it actually attained around 27.3 billion pesos with a plus 1.7% of its growth. Following Unilab, we have Pfizer with 8.6% market share. Pfizer is actually a US-based company with an extensive array of pharmaceutical products that led the cardiovascular, central nervous system, anti-infective, pain, urological, oncology, and ophthalmology markets, but has been declining by, shall we say, negative 8.1% due to the MDRP. So this minimum, what we call government policy that we have actually makes it vulnerable for pharmaceutical company to be lower its share in the market, no, because of government policies. Now, GlaxoSmithKline came into the third with 8.0% market share, driven by its mega brand Ventolin. As what I mentioned a while ago, it's quite for anti-asthmatic agent. Now, it has also Pretor, Santac, which are quite very famous in the market. And it is the largest multinational company manufacturing facility, even in other parts in the world. They have a lot of manufacturing company in different countries, including in the Philippines, which are rounding up in the list of the leading pharmaceutical company in the Philippines, like also with Abbott, as what mentioned a while ago, with AstraZeneca, Novartis, Johnson and Johnson, Sanofi Aventis, Pascual Lab, and Bo Engelheim. So these are figure number one, as mentioned a while ago. So what are the market growth drivers that we have? So we have a new product. If there's a new product, then there will be a growth is driven by new product launch, new brand, new line, new line extension, right? So if there's a new brand, people really want to go into the new product. No, they want to test if that product is safe, effective. No, especially if that to be cloth line or other industry. No? So they, if you want, they also have the new restaurant to the new restaurant, right? So these are market growth drivers then. If there are new products, new brands, new line extension. No? And another thing for market growth driver is about quantity. No? So the quantity is all about the growth is driven by the increase in units or quantity sold. So if like example, Apple or no, or other brands will be saleable, then people really wants to go into that. No, those which are very good brands, very stable brand, very having that increase in the market. Then so we usually go to that. So quantity is also matter. No, and also the price. So the growth is driven by the increase in the selling price of the product. Conversely, if negative, there is a decrease in the price. No? So it really, if the brand in the price is really equivalent, then if there is a really good price for that, people really wants to go on to it. No? And especially now that with the increase of prices and oil, the usually people goes into a very good price. No? A very good price in terms of is it safe, effective medication then, especially for those poor people who really have this lifestyle medication then for diabetes, hypertension then. So it really matters for them, no? And at the same time, there is a combined effect. No? Growth is driven by all these three factors: the new product, and this store keeping unit (SKU), the quantity, the price. No, these are some of it are combinations. No, that may be driven by these three factors. So these are what we call as market growth drivers. No? So remember, new product or the store keeping units, the quantity, the price, no, or it can be a combined effects. So what is then on your figure number 2 about Philippine pharmaceutical market? So there is really an increase and decrease of instability in terms of the Philippine pharmaceutical market. Then from 2009 to 2010, there is a really a decrease. No? As you can see in figure number 9, the market really drastically slowed down to 2.6% growth in 2009. And the first time in the world history that there's really a decline, no, in the last decades. No? This is attributed then to the full implementation of MDRP. What do you mean by MDRP? As what mentioned a while ago in some of the slide. It mentioned here that really have an effect in terms of government policy then, in terms of the market share. Why? Because of this maximum drug retail price regulations, no? Which reduces the selling price of most blockbuster drugs by half and severely affected the sale performance of several multinational companies, both over-the-counter medication and ethical business registered upbeat growth at 3.7% and 1.8% respectively. So the market then significantly having this growth, no, in pure and branded generics in terms of sales. Even the multinational companies then are now encroaching into this particular market. So even UNILAB still are increasing in terms of the growth, no? Even though of this, but it really stumbled the block for pharmaceutical market then because of government policy, because of this maximum drug retail price, generics act and all. But it is actually beneficial for the people. Why beneficial for the people? Because it has a ceiling price, it has a particular selling price for the people can actually afford this kind of medication. So if ever there will be a skyrocketing increase, so how can people actually afford this lifestyle medications that we have? So it has really an effect both in these parties, both in terms of pharmaceutical market and of course in terms of the people, the consumer. Of course, us as a consumer, we will be happy if there's really a selling price for it, especially for geriatric patients or pediatric patients who are very dependent upon with their pensions and of course the government support for them. No? So it really matters for the whole public. Now, in terms of innovator, branded, or generic or pure generic, the figure number 4 actually shows us that the branded generics and pure generics are growing, no? Are growing, really growing, no? And of course, while innovators are declining also, no? Because of course there is an implication of that of the government policy, the Generics Act of 1988, the MDRP, and of course other government policies, no? And the innovator seems to have this suffered the blow of this MDRP as their peso sales decline due to the price reduction, which are not compensated by the increase in units. And the top multinational companies such as Pfizer, GSK, Abbott, Seneca, Sanofi, Aventis are the market decelerators due to the decline in sales of their leading brand such as Norvas, Ventolin, Clarisin, Plendin ER, and Plavix, which are mostly MDRP affected products. So basically, these are usually the effects then of a government policies then for the pharmaceutical market. No? So way back maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago, there is really a protest then for pharmaceutical companies, even in pharmacy, in hospitals, in retail drug stores, with regards to Generics Act, and of course with MDRP, and of course other government policy. But then, of course, it really benefit to the people, no? To the people. But if you're a businessman having all of this policy like Senior Citizen Act, and of course other expanded programs by the government, policies by the government, then it really hampered the sales of the innovator drugs or branded medications. No? So basically, there's a win-win situation in both parties with that, with the people per se, but of course the loss of the pharmaceutical market sales. Now, moving on to other countries, looking at in Indonesia, where the pharmaceutical market ecosystem here, there's really a growth in terms of animal pharmaceutical and vaccine market, no? And of course, we have also some pharmaceutical companies in Indonesia that are quite famous. We have Soho Global Health, Dexa Medical, Faros. These are local companies in Indonesia. And they really have a lot of things going on, especially for biopharmaceuticals, ethical, unbranded generic, or patented drugs. We have also some of pharmacy retail companies that are multinational also and local, like example Guardian Pharmacy, Watsons, which are also here in the Philippines, that are part of the pharmaceutical marketing distribution, particularly in retail and hospital. So we have also hospital here, hospital pharmacy, and of course, these are all governed by Indonesian FDA, Food and Drug Administration, in a particular countries. No? So these are usually the UNILAB therapeutic segments. So it's actually depending upon therapeutic segments, it can be divided into anti-infective, somatic, cough and cold, cardiovascular, gastrointestinal, anti-asthma, endocrine, metabolic, anti-tuberculosis, dermatological, vitamins, mineral, dietetics, women's health. Why is it, if you want to ask, why is it that Unilab products, they don't cater all of it, no, all of the segments that they have? No? So basically, they really prioritize what is then the niche area or the niche segments that they have. So these are the whole segments that we have. And you can actually click at the bottom, we have the complete products of the UNILAB products that we have, no, from men and also from women's health, and also other therapeutic segments for UNILAB products. So we have anti-infective, somatics, and other products. So we have also here some of all the segments based on the total pharmaceutical market sales data by product segments based on March 2010, it mentioned here that most of the product that has a high growth are usually for cardiovascular agent, usually lifestyle medication, because this is usually in the lifestyle, meaning lifetime, they already taking up these medications, right? You cannot stop your lifetime medications for that, or else you have a lot of side effects associated with it, no? When you stop the medications. Now, you look at this particular segments, we have anti-infective, antibiotics still, vitamins still are really a growing market, and endo-metabolic medications, somatics, cough and cold, gastrointestinal, dermatological, anti-asthma, central nervous system medication, oncology medication, because as what mentioned a while ago, these are specialty medicines for oncology. That is why it cannot be in the top. But then these are still part of the top total pharmaceutical market sales that we have here. We have anti-allergy and also nephrology, eye and in ear, hospital solution, anti-TB medications, gynecological products, vaccines, and antifibrinolytics. So these are some of the very good pharmaceutical products that have higher sales in comparison with other therapeutic segments. Now, looking at some of the drug discovery, usually we look at, you have oral, inhalation, mucosal, cutaneous injection. So if you look at A, B, C, D, and E, mostly of the pharmaceutical companies go on to conventional tablets, which are higher in terms of for generic products. No? While if that is for new products, they have also conventional, little bit only, and also some of it for solutions, for tablet, orally disintegrating products, and few also with other products. No? For inhalation, of course, these are more with generic products and less, but for powders, they are only available for new drugs in comparison with generic products. No? So these are some of the, when we try to invent with a product, we look at, is there any other particular dosage form that are available in the market when we discover certain medication. So mostly you can see in the particular diagram or in the particular figure that mostly of the products are in the generic drugs in comparison with new drugs. No, you can see in letter E, and of course letter B, and of course letter A, that there are few new drugs that are available for letter E, letter A, and of course letter B, which are more into oral, inhalation, and injectable products for generic drugs. And for marketed pharmaceutical product flow chart, you can see that some of the discovery or innovator drugs are being discontinued. No? So some of them, almost 10,000 products already been discontinued pharmaceutical products then. No? So basically, you can see that for these products, these are being discontinued in the market. No? So it's quite very sad. You already have all the clinical trials, but then, of course, because of side effect associated with it, and major side effect like it will cause hypertension, no, and other side effects associated with the drug, it will really go on to differ elimination or discontinuation of the particular product then. So you can see here that basically oral sustained release preparation then, or SR, no, sustained release product, provide an advantage over conventional dosage form by optimizing biopharmaceutics, pharmacokinetics, and pharmacodynamic properties of the drug in such a way that it will reduce dosing frequency to an extent that once daily dose is sufficient for penetration, polymer swelling, and of course other. We don't want to burden our patient then for compliance, taking up medication 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 5 times a day. But we want the medication in a once daily dose given to the patient is enough already, because it matters also with the compliance to our certain patient. Okay, so it depends on drug compliance for our patients. So that is why it's good to have sustained release in comparison with other pharmaceutical dosage form. No? But then we cannot ignore the fact that there are also other dosage form, like, for example, transdermal patch, microsphere. These are newest drug delivery system that we can have. It's quite very expensive to develop this product in a very novel drug delivery system. But then, of course, it needs to have uh, compliance, no? To increase the compliance of our particular patient. No? Now, looking at also in drug introduction made in the Philippines from 2003 to 2017, you can see that there are different kinds of segments. Calcium antagonist plain for hypertension. There are a lot of multinational companies who introduced that one, and also local drug companies. No? And for non-narcotic analgesic, there are a lot of local companies compared to the multinational. It's easier to actually develop this kind of products. Infant formulation, we have a lot of multinational companies in comparison with local companies. I hope that because it's a burden also for growing child, pediatric patients having these infant formulas that are actually quite very expensive. No? Quite very expensive. Aside from your diaper, of course, when you are a pedia, of course, it's a burden for the parents to have also infant formulas for their child. So breastfeeding still is good for the baby, right? So moving on, spectorants also for cough. There are almost local companies like 192 local companies, and we have also herbal supplements that are already developed into a therapeutic effects for certain patients like Plemex, no, Lagundi, and all that are very potential for the market. And also Vinca alkaloids, neoplasm for oncology medications. There are a lot of multinational companies. So if you wonder that usually for multinational companies, they have this specialty medicines, no? Usually for oncology, for cancer medications, no? And some of anti-alkylating agents and anti-metabolite agents for cancer. So there are different types of pharmaceutical product. We have also ethical and of course non-ethical products. So some of the examples that we have for ethical or prescription products, we have also Ventolin for salbutamol, that is for GlaxoSmithKline. We have Pricer also for Norvasc, for amlodipine. This is actually for cardiovascular agents. So these are really, you need to have a prescription. It refers to us as a drug product which are prescribed by medical practitioners that are only exclusively promoted ethically by drug companies via deployment of professional medical representatives, and consumers are not able to purchase medicines by the drugstore or hospital pharmacy without a supporting prescription from a licensed doctor. This is based on Philippine law. For pharmacy law, it needs to have a prescription. Now, for over-the-counter drug, you don't need to have a prescription. This is also referred to us by drug product which can be brought by consumer in the drugstore, pharmacy license, supermarket, or grocery, even without the doctor's prescription. No? In contrast to ethical drug, over-the-counter products may be advertised via print, radio, and TV media. So there are less regulation, particularly on over-the-counter medications. And this is also called as proprietary medicines. Okay, And of course, non-drugs, some of the non-drugs referred to us as nutraceutical and infant milk preparation or baby care, cosmetics, diagnostic, and other medical devices. Okay, so we have some of the share of the corporation. So they are for generic products. These are quite higher compared with UNILAB products for branded generics, GlaxoSmithKline for innovator medications, Pfizer for innovator, Merck and Dome, Abbott Lab, and of course, Engelheim, Novartis, Sanofi Aventis, Natra Pharma. These have a very high prescription share, no, in 2010. So usually, doctors usually prescribe these medications, like for example, with Norvas for cardiovascular agent for Pfizer, given by doctors. No? So basically, it's quite a lot of share from Unilab, Glaxo, SmithKline, GSK, and Pfizer, which are the top three in terms of branded generics and innovator pharmaceuticals. No? You can see here also in the slide that there's really a great share for over-the-counter medication for cough, cold, and allergy remedies. No? And some of the paracetamol for analgesic, no, and others. So you can see that really a good fast-moving market for over-the-counter medication. For cosmetic products and toiletries, there's an increasing trend, and it was forecasted in 2023 that it will be a growing market for cosmetics, especially for ladies. There will be a great demand in terms of cosmetic products, and of course, pharmaceuticals for that. No? So it's a really increasing market for toiletries and of course cosmetic products now. So let's have a critical thinking box. So how do government policies affect the type of pharmaceutical products? And if you want to develop a pharmaceutical product, which segment you want to choose? Justify your answer. And how do Generic Act of 1998 affect the branded, innovator, and of course, pure generics in the Philippines? So let's try to think about it. And we're going to answer it via Zoom regarding the critical thinking box section. So in the take-home message, as we all know that there is really a big market for pharmaceutical sector in the world. And market players in the pharmaceutical industries are the innovators, branded generic, and pure generic drug products. And there are different types of pharmaceutical products that are available in the market that are those prescription or ethical drug products, over-the-counter medicine, and non-drug like cosmetic like toiletries, cosmetic products. And of course, lastly, pharmaceutical products are classified based on therapeutic segments like anti-asthma, for hypertension, diabetes, and all. So these are my references. And thank you very much. And I am Dr. Erwin Martinez Falier, your professor from San Pedro College and a visiting professor in Bournemouth University, United Kingdom. I hope you learned a lot with this topic, and good luck for your post-test and for your final examination. So don't forget to subscribe in my YouTube channel, Dr. Erwin Martinez Falier. Just click below. Thank you very much.